Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you are having an awesome day. I know that I am. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, where we go through our four keys to building a great team. So I'm going to go ahead and start off right away and apologize. Today is a high allergy day, and no matter what I've done in order to get ready for today, allergies just will not quit. But listen, I'm happy, glad to be here today. We're going to go ahead and jump right in because, as you know, today we're talking about toxic workers and how to deal with people who are toxic co-workers. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to be talking about this. This is going to be something that you want to definitely be a part of, and you want to make sure that you tune into and take some notes, maybe screenshot it, maybe set your computer, your device to record, but it's going to be good. So by all means, please go ahead and make sure, if you can hear me, make sure you put at least a number 1 in the chat. I want to make sure that I've got everything set up correctly, and that if you can hear me, you go ahead and put a number 1 in the chat. Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. If you can see me, put a 1 in the chat. If you can hear me, if you can see me, go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and jump right into this, but I want to make sure that we don't leave anyone behind. And while we're looking at this and thinking about what we're getting ready to talk about, let me remind you that we meet every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And we want to encourage you and welcome you to go ahead and come and see us. Make sure that if you are on LinkedIn, is that you follow us at Savvy CEO for more Savvy CEO sense. And then in addition to that, we also, if you have a question, put a Q in front of your question, and make sure that you like and share this video. All right. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get moving. I see you watching us and paying attention. So let's go ahead and get in. So we're talking about 4 types of toxic coworkers, 4 types of toxic coworkers. And it's only going to be 4 that we're going to focus on. There are variations of these 4, but we're only going to focus on 4. All right. Once we look at the 4 different types, we're then going to turn and we're going to look at solutions for dealing with the 4 types of toxic coworkers. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The first type of toxic coworker is none other than someone I describe as a Wolverine. You know a Wolverine. A Wolverine is not very big. The picture may make him look kind of big, but a Wolverine is not very big. However, a bear, a full-grown bear, is terrified at a little bitty Wolverine. And that is because the Wolverine is fierce. The Wolverine gets what it wants and nothing can stop it. And a lot of times in work, we have people who act just like Wolverines. There's nothing that they won't stop at doing in order to get their objective. In fact, I read where a Wolverine can even bite through bone. He's a serious predator. And when you have a Wolverine in your office among your coworkers, it is a very unpleasant situation. I went ahead and I put together some tips to help us understand a little bit more of the characteristics of what a Wolverine actually looks like and what they do. Number 1, you know you have a Wolverine in your office if there is someone that oversteps their authority. If you want to know another trait, they also use fear as a motivator. People who are toxic in the workplace use fear as a motivator. Have you ever been working for a boss or a supervisor or manager or even with a superior? It doesn't even have to be a person like that, but someone who's even been on the job longer than you. This is a person who uses fear as a motivator in order to get you to do something. That's what we're looking at. A Wolverine, or a person who is a domineering, toxic individual in the workplace, is also a poor listener. In fact, they could care less what you have to say most times. They have their agenda. They know what they want. and they are a poor listener. It is a one-way street with them. They also lack tact and diplomacy. In other words, they say whatever they want, however they want to say it, whenever they want to say it, to whoever they want to say it. And so oftentimes we see that toxic people in our office, yes, they're described as a Wolverine, but they also lack tact and diplomacy. And then they also dislike routine work. They also dislike routine work. And so what happens is they're always changing, and trying to figure out exactly what else to do. They want to do and they may not even be a good project completer. They're just constantly moving because they do not like routine work, and they over delegate and under instruct. This one here is pretty rough because I have been a victim of this, of my own device, that is, over delegating and under instructing. They figure everybody else ought to just get it. So what's the problem? How come you can't get it? Why do we need all of this? So this is our first thing. We only have 4 traits of toxic workers. We're going to talk about 4 categories, not 4 traits, but 4 categories of toxic workers. This is our first one. Our first one is the Wolverine. Now, if you can hear me, make sure that you put a number 1 in the chat. If you have your question, put your Q in the front as well. Now, in addition to the Wolverine, the next toxic individual that we have is none other than the fox. The fox is a toxic individual. Now, our fox has their own set of traits. Number 1, they act impulsively. It's always the heart over the mind. Now, when each of these particular categories of toxic workers are, let's say, improved, they almost transform from their current state to a different state, right? But what we have is the toxic worker that acts very impulsively. They have heart over mind. They don't think things through. They just go with what they feel all the time, regardless of what the brain tells them. You know you have a toxic worker. In addition to that, they can be unrealistic in appraising other people. In other words, seeing other people's worth. They also can be inattentive to detail, and they are situational listeners. In other words, they'll listen to you as long as it suits their agenda. So one way that this plays itself out is if you are giving someone who is toxic feedback in your office setting, in whether it be a nonprofit setting or for-profit setting, wherever it is, they will listen, if they are a fox, only if you have something good to say about them. But the second you say something negative about them, the second you give them some sort of feedback that is dealing only with how they need to change, then you know you're dealing with a situational listener or even a fox. And lastly, they're very disorganized. Now, I could talk about all the good, but we're talking about toxic workers in the office. This particular person is extremely disorganized, right? And so they're called a fox. Let's go ahead and look at our third characteristic because we only have 4. Our third characteristic is none other than the sloth. Why do we say the sloth? Because the sloth is very interesting because they have a tendency to get in a rut. They get stuck. They may move very slowly. They have low urgency to no urgency. They also maintain a status quo, and they're very resistant to change. So they're okay with just the way it is, and they don't even see a need to change, right? They hold grudges. And the thing is about the toxic worker in your office who is described as a sloth, you won't even know that they have a grudge because they don't talk. They won't. They just won't talk. Unless there's someone who has other strong suits and they're a little bit more talkative than normal, but overall, they could still have a grudge and you'd never know it. They also lack a projected sense of urgency. We talked about that. They're slow to act without precedent, and they're very hesitant to move. Not that they just won't, but they're going to hesitate, which means they're going to wait. They may get ready to, but it's going to take them a little while. And then they would rather delegate. Rather than delegate, they would rather do the work themselves. They're a team player. They love the team. They value the team. But when they are toxic, they'll do it themselves, which means they're going to be overwhelmed. They're going to be burdened down, and they're going to have just too much work. All right. And then our fourth category, our last category that we have of toxic workers before we get to our solutions is that there is the wolf. Now, the wolf is an interesting one because the wolf will follow, will have rules, and do everything right. But the problem with the wolf is that they will maintain, they will hesitate without precedent. They are bound by procedures and methods, and they will not risk stating new ideas without a qualifying statement first. And then we have, they do not verbalize their feelings, and they may do work themselves and not delegate. One more thing is that they will yield their position in order to deal with controversy, in order to go ahead and deal with controversy. Let me remind you to follow Savvy CEO. If you have a question, put a Q in front of your question. We want to make sure that you have that. Let's go ahead. We're going to have a quick commercial. And then right after our commercial break, we're going to come back and we're going to give you the solution to everything that we're talking about today. All right, welcome back. So we're talking about toxic workers and how to deal with our toxic workers in each of our settings, no matter what. So far, what we've done is we've described 4 categories of top toxic workers. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get into our solutions for these toxic workers. But we want to remind you that you need to follow, please, Savvy CEO on LinkedIn. If you have a question, put a Q in front of your question. And please make sure that you like and that you share this video. We've talked about the 4 categories. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and look at the 4 solutions, the 4 categories of toxic workers. Now we're going to talk about solutions for each of them. So if you're just now joining us and you missed the 4 categories of toxic workers, it's not too late. We're going to go ahead and show you what those categories were actually. We won't go into all the description of them, but we're going to give you some solutions for each and every one of them. So let's go ahead and look at the 4 types of toxic workers. And now we're talking about our solutions. So let's go ahead and look at those. First of all, when we look at our solution, we've got to realize that no matter how bad the problem is, that it can always improve. No matter how bad the situation is, it can improve. So it may feel as if it's hopeless, but it's not hopeless. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, we first talked about our Wolverine and the problems that we have with people who are in this category, who act like the Wolverine, right? But here's what we can do in order to help them, in order to reach them, in order to deal with. Sometimes you don't want to reach them. Sometimes you just need to deal with them, right? You want to go ahead and deal with them. The best thing that you can do is you can create a high challenge environment. Now, what I have loved to do in the past is make sure that the Wolverines on my team who become Wolverines or become toxic, that what I do when I create an environment for them that gives them a lot of challenges, they're up for the task. They actually are encouraged by it. So they're toxic, but when they have this challenging environment, it helps them to redirect their energies towards the task that is at hand. So you want to make sure that what you do is you create this environment, and then also, and that's to say, give broad objectives, and let them figure out how to get there. In other words, tell them what we want to do, and then let them figure out how to actually get there. They will thrive off of that. And then lastly, clearly define the boundaries of their responsibilities. Don't just let them go all over the place. Give them a guideline and show them that you want them to go in a particular place. Now, look, this works no matter what work environment you're in. If you've got a Wolverine on your hands, you need to make sure you do these things and it will help you. What about if you have a fox? The second one that we talked about earlier in our show. If you have a fox, what you can do is, number one, make work fun and collaborative. People who are like that, they love to have fun. They love to work with others. In fact, they are energized by working with others because they love to be interactive. So make it fun and let them work with one another. And guess what? Your toxic environment will become reduced. And then secondly, provide administrative support for follow through and repetitive tasks. Because here's the thing, the fox doesn't like repetitive tasks. The fox isn't the greatest with deadlines. We said earlier that the fox is unorganized. Unorganized. I remember a coworker I had a long time ago, and she had her office. I don't know how she did it. She would get work done, but she always had stacks of files in her office. I mean, stacks of files behind her desk, in the drawer, on her other, everywhere. But she always got a lot of work done, or at least she made it look like she had a lot of work done. But here's the thing. She needed administrative support for follow through and repetitive tasks. And lastly, for someone who's a fox, make sure that you are open to other ideas. Make sure that you're open to other ideas. And then create a flexible structure for them. They need a flexible structure. And when you give them a flexible structure, that will be wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, let's go ahead and look at our next one, which is our sloth. We talked about our sloth. Our sloth is that methodical or very slow person that is not very responsive. We only have two more. They're not responsive. Here's the thing. You need to help create a stable, harmonious environment for them. No matter how upset you are, no matter how frustrated you become, please make sure that you create a stable and harmonious environment, because the sloth among you values that in their workplace. But guess what? If you don't give it to them, it's only going to make them dig in more and move very, very slow, and slower than you imagine. Secondly, make sure you introduce change slowly with your sloth coworker friends, and make sure you give them forewarning as well, because they don't like change. I mean, who loves change? But they really, in their DNA, do not like change. And if you're going to have change, you need to introduce that change, and you need to introduce it slowly, and you need to introduce it after you warn them. So make sure you do that, because when you have a toxic work person who's a sloth, where we said earlier, they take their time, they don't meet their deadlines, or they barely meet their deadlines. They're just slow with everything that they do. They withdraw, they're internal, they'll hold a grudge. You don't even know they have a grudge. In order to help them get through all of what we just described, you've got to introduce change slowly and give them forewarning. A lot of times they have reasons in their mind why they are acting the way they're acting. So you want to make sure you do that, and that will help them process. And then lastly, provide clear expectations of what you expect, and offer encouragement and affirmation. And I can't say this one enough. Encouragement and affirmation. Encouragement and affirmation over and over and over. That will help you. Lastly, let's look at our wolf. Let's look at our wolf. Our wolf is looking at it like this. The solution for someone who's a wolf, this is our last category, You need to provide clear expectations and consistent procedures for your toxic wolf coworker. Provide clear expectations. This is what is expected, and you need to be consistent. Don't just say this is what is expected. Here is what is expected. And here is the consistent procedure that we have followed in order to get there. This is what they need. Now, you may feel as if you are downplaying who they are or who you are, your position or your role. But the thing of the matter is, as leaders of other people, we've got to lead them. And guess what? You can't lead anybody if you leave everybody. So you need to make sure you provide a clear expectation and a consistent procedure and allow them time to ask the questions that matter to them and help them to have time to gather the information before they actually move ahead. Because when you give them time, then they have exactly what they need, right? Because they've got to process it. They're toxic, but guess what? There's a reason why they are the way they are. And then lastly, you need to make sure that you draw out expertise and subject knowledge. In other words, they're masters at something. And because they're masters at something, you want to pull that out and allow them to use that for the team, for the group. It will change the environment immediately, right? So for more information, we've got something that we want to share with you, and I'm going to go ahead and close on this. If this has been helpful to you, please take a second and make sure that you at least hit the like button on this video. Make sure that you share it if this has been at all good. If you're just joining us, we've been talking about the 4 toxic people that are in our environment, toxic coworkers, and how to deal with them at work. We've talked about the problems we have in those 4 categories and what they are, but we also talked about how to help them, the solutions of how to help them. So if this has been something that has been beneficial, for more information, we have something that we're offering that we're going to go ahead and be giving. And this is going to be on Labor Day weekend. Number one, this is the Leadership Development Academy, the Savvy CEO Leadership Development Academy. Now, in this course that we are going to be releasing, we will help leaders. I will be helping them. I will be helping you. I will be helping teams to identify, to build, and to protect themselves from poor relationships, from ineffective communication, from low employee engagement, and poor leadership decisions. These are the things that we're going to be addressing in the course. So I want to encourage you to go ahead and make sure you go to the website at the end of this. Here's what you're going to get if you should join this course. You will get an 8-week virtual group coaching sessions, and you will get all of their recordings. You will get lifetime access to the Savvy CEO Leadership Development Academy. You will get a social media platform and group texting that will come along with it. You will get also lifetime access to the private Facebook community. You will also get lifetime access to the pre-recorded training materials and strategies. And you will get, perhaps one of my most favorite, is access to the customized 73-page coaching guide ebook. Now, this is an ebook that is customized for you. And here's what it includes, right? Now get ready. It includes 3 customized coaching reports. You get it all in the package for the course. And like I said, it's customized for you, okay? Now, here's the first report. It's a customized disc report that includes how you prefer to use your talents based on your natural behavioral style. The report explores a closer look at each of your behavioral dimensions, a comparison of your natural and adaptive and your behavioral style, a detailed strength-based description of your overall behavioral style, tips on how to communicate, and, I like this one, how to be communicated with. It talks about your ideal work environment. It gives insights on how you can become more effective. It gives action steps to ensure that your environment is motivational, what can move you and help you and energize you. It even talks about areas where you can focus on improving your preferred means of sharing and receiving information, and an application section where you can take the information and you can apply it. Now, we're almost done, so we're going to go ahead and talk about the next one. The next one is you get a customized value report. This includes Why are you motivated? We talk about how among the top 4 reasons of why everybody's quitting their jobs in the Great Resignation, the 4th reason is exactly what we're going to be addressing in our course. And that is, why are you motivated to use your talents based on what motivates you? How to drive your passions, how to reduce fatigue, and to increase your inspiration and drive. This is what we're offering. And this is the 2nd report that we're giving you out of the 3. Now, the 3rd report that you will get in the Leadership Development Academy, where we not only talk about the DISC analysis and the values analysis and communication and how to deal with all your toxic workers, but we will also talk, in the 3rd one, you will get a customized attribute report that includes what natural talents you have based on how you think and make decisions. Now, this is why this is so important, because this is exactly the stuff that leaders are made of. And so we're going to be offering that. We have an informational session that is going to be taking place at the end of, not the, at the end, in a week. So it's actually in next Sunday. So I said in a week, but it's next Sunday. Today's Wednesday. So it'll be next Sunday, Labor Day weekend at 6:30. And we're going to be talking about all of that. So if you want to go ahead and sign up and for the information session, all you've got to do is go to this website here. Go to, type it all the way in to https://www.iamraymondjohnson.com/waitlist. If you go here, you'll go ahead and that'll put you on our list, and we will send you the information you need to get into the information system. It'll take you 2 seconds to do. Why not make sure you do this for your own benefit? Hey, I hope that you have been blessed. I hope that this has been something that has helped you. I know I'm always enjoying it as I go through this information. But this has been Toxic Workers, how to deal with toxic workers, toxic people at work. You have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. Talk to you later. See you on Wednesday or on the website, which we will have our information session on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Take care.